Well, here we are. Hello, hello again. Once again, it's Short Talk in the Trailer Park with an old guy. That would be me. And my name's Mike. Come on in, sit down. We got the today's sponsor, which has unfortunately not sent me a dime yet. Boy, I got a mixture in there. Let me tell you, I got root beer. There's a little bit of iced tea, some Dr. Pepper, orange soda, a little Sprite, and then I had a dash of coffee with cream left over at the house. So I just poured that in. So it's kind of a strange flavor, but it tastes all right. And it's cold, you know. So I had a long day today, and I just thought I'd do a quick video with y'all. Just kind of, wheedle our way through the world as it falls apart. As the world falls apart. Maybe we should start a new soap opera. Starring Joe You-Know-Who. Boy, that traitor. I was watching a video the other day and wanted to pass this on to you. It had occurred to me that there was something awfully darn peculiar about the fact that all of these refugees who are storming across the border, millions of them, and according to the administration, the border is secure. Compared to what? What do you mean secure? And so anyway, the guy's that guy. Ugh. I call him the poodle, and I think I told you why. The Chinese, I googled this, so it's got to be true. The Chinese, one of their favorite lap dogs is poodles, little toy poodles. Man, that's reasonable enough. And so I thought, well, what kind of dog would Xi like? Xi Jinping? Probably a poodle. So that's what I call the so-called, whatever he is, that person over there at Pennsylvania Avenue. I've never seen such, what a traitor. But anyway, never mind that. The thing I was kind of mumbling about here today was all of these Asian folks coming through. Wait a minute, what's going on with that? And China has actually sponsored a route down through Ecuador. They come in at Ecuador. They get instructions, written instructions with here's your stop, and they stay at hotels on the way up. Hotels are slammed full of nothing but Chinese refugees, right? And get out of here with that stuff. Anyway, turns out there's a current deficit in the U.S. military. We've got about 400,000 troops on hand right now. And guess what? They're having recruiting problems. Gee, I wonder why. I mean, red-blooded American men and women, are you kidding? Why would they want to serve for this traitorous toad? In fact, that's an insult to amphibians. I'm sorry, amphibians. I don't mean to compare you to that thing. But at any rate, they're letting these guys in. And here's the deal, see. There's also talk that, with our recruiting goals that we are trying to desperately reach, even though we do everything possible to discourage Americans from signing up. Well, guess what? If you want to come across the border illegally, then you can still become a member of the U.S. military. Why? Yeah? And this is your route to citizenship. Sounds a little sketchy to me. So what it's going to work out to is when the proverbial excrement hits the fan, coming on down the road here a little while, and U.S. troops have to be used to contain or restrain or even fight against U.S. citizens. U.S. troops ain't going to want to do that job, right? All you got to do is bring in the foreigners. They're in U.S. troop uniforms. They got U.S. equipment. They're dressed up as Army or Marines or whatever service they get registered under. What? And they have no loyalty, none, to a republic founded under God. They have no loyalty at all to anything like a representative federal republic with three houses of power, the executive branch, the legislative, and the judicial. Well, our so-called leadership has flushed the Constitution down the toilet, let me tell you. They've weaponized the DOJ, they weaponized the FBI, and I mean, that's just for starters. And, these guys are just awful. But anyway, I was just sitting there wanting to kind of put a bug in your ear, is that why would anyone, a U.S. senator or a U.S. representative, why would they be interested in signing up foreign soldiers in the U.S. military? Doesn't that seem just a little bit odd? It'd be like in World War II, Hey, Japanese soldiers, why don't you come on over here? Look here. you can be a member of the Japanese Imperial Army, and well, you can join ours too. What is that? Because you know that these guys, if they've got military training at all, they were trained by you know who. The CCP has their own People's Army. They call it the People's Army. Get me out of here. But the thing is that so that stuff is coming down. You just keep that in one of your back burners there. Remember it. Remember it. You could see something like that someday, and it might not be too far down the road neither. So today we went in and did a little weirdo job for. There's a little restaurant down in there's a town adjacent to. Actually, it was the original town here called Mesilla. Sounds like a small tabletop. Mesilla, I think. Anyway, don't ask me why they call it that. But Mesilla's down here, and that was the original place. And then Cruces sprang up after Mesilla. So the Spaniards came on through probably in the 1600s, I'm guessing. I really don't know when they came through. And there was a little settlements along the way, and Mesilla was one of them. And it wasn't a great big thriving town, and it's still not. But there's a place called a Thai kitchen, Thai. It's a restaurant down there, and they're having serious troubles with they got a bathroom completely backed up. I mean, gnarly. Ugh. And they couldn't clear it. Well, they could track where the problem was, so they shot their my guy Dimitro. He's good at that thing, man. Ooh, that cable. He said the elbow's right down here. He found it. He says, track it in. The problem is somewhere in the rotation of that curve and probably something beyond it. So I was planning on cutting out about 14 inches of iron, get that crummy elbow out and ping in a new one. I thought we were going to be out of there by 3 o'clock. Well, gnarly little surprise. There's a product, and I don't believe you can buy this stuff anymore, at least I hope you can't, called Orangeburg. And it was the old go-to back when cast iron was the thing. Now, if you're running a house and the boss says, we got to get this house roughed in, well, if you're doing it in iron way back when, I never have done one of those, I'm not that old, but you run the iron 2 feet or so out of the house, beyond the house. Then there's a two-way clean out that goes in so you can shoot a cable and clear the thing. And then beyond that, across the yard over to the curb, however far that is, you use a cheaper grade of pipe. This stuff was called Orangeburg. You don't want to know what this stuff is. It's sort of like tar impregnated paper or something. I mean, it's just real garbage pipe. And so, I mean, we were just digging around, just trying to get the ditch opened up, and the thing was falling apart in my hands. And I thought, oh, this is just great. And it had all kinds of lovely, exciting things to scoop out, too. Whew, a little on the whiffy side. But anyhow, we followed it down. Now, Dee knew that further down the way, about 7 feet further or 6 feet further than I had planned, we could find PVC. So I said, well, that's news to me. So we blew the slab out another time. Now we got piles of dirt all over the place in the kitchen. And we dug it out, and Josh showed up about maybe 2 or so. I can't remember when. And so Josh and Marty and I wrapped it up, except not quite. We got the pipe put in. I used a special CT adapter on the Orangeburg end, and then we're just going to take it to the wall, and we're going to sell them a repipe. If this doesn't hold, if there's problems, when this stuff backs up again, and it will, when this piece of pipe just craps its guts, that way we know where we left off with PVC, and that way we can do a second break on another job in the future, when and if we get called back to do this job. So I didn't know that part either. So anyway, we got her all dug out, got her cut down, and pushed that thing in there. Of course, my guys underdug the ditch left, right, so you can either get the pipe in there, but not your feet. One or the other, choose one. It's like, God, you guys, how many times am I going to go over this with you guys? I mean, if you can't get in the ditch and work, your ditch ain't wide enough. Somehow that fails to sink in. So at any rate, we got the darn thing put together, and then Marty had to bug out at 4. So Josh and I hung out till, we got back to the shop at 5:45. So we hung out an hour and 3/4 overtime. And then what we did afterwards is a tile floor back in that kitchen. Not a very good job either, but never mind that. And so we have a little breaker, a little miniature breaker with a flat blade on it about yay wide. So we just used that as a kind of a miniature bulldozer, and just scrape all the old thin set right down to slab. And so now we got a smooth surface that I can screed my concrete back to. And so we're going to start pouring concrete tomorrow. And once that's done, then we got to go back to the bathroom that wouldn't work because the toilet needs work. Needs a new fill valve at least. And I can't figure out what's going on in that lav, but it's permanently backed up or something. So I'm just going to pull the trap down, see if I can clear it and figure out what's going on with that. That's just probably another mess. But I don't have a small cable or nothing, but I could look around. I might have one. So we're going to try to clear all that stuff tomorrow and wrap it up and walk away because they've had the restaurant closed today, and boy, the phone was ringing off the hook. We were the only ones in there. And I never did see the owner. I never did see a manager or anybody. Never showed up. We were in there by ourselves all day, and we didn't lock up. That's the weird part. Probably shouldn't tell you that part. Let's not make that public. But when we got there this morning, the place was unlocked, and I thought, what's going on here, man? This is weird. So maybe kind of like extraordinarily low security. I mean, what are they going to do? Break in and steal your rice and stuff? I mean, I don't know. So anyhow, I was just wanting to kind of go over the idea of getting something done and kind of feeling good about it, looking back in the rear view. Hopefully tomorrow we can look back and say that one's off the screen, don't have to deal with it, everything's wrapped up, except of course today I lost a tape measure over there. I have no idea how I do that stuff. I pulled the tape out, I know I saw it, I had it in my hand, and then it kind of winked out of existence, as they are known to do sometimes. No, they don't. I just put stuff down and then I can't figure out what I did with it. So that's kind of like the story of my life. I ask all day long, hey, Marty, where's that stuff? You know, what's right in front of you, right behind you, you know, whatever. So as we go through our lives here and we begin kind of contemplating and anticipating what's coming up in 2024, you know, I'll probably have some more crappy plumbing jobs, but I think what's going to happen is we're going to have to get used to the idea. We're coming up with some big changes here. I mean, big social changes, and I don't think anyone's going to like them. They're not going to be like popular. But the situation is getting out of hand in terms of this unconstitutional garbage that they're palming off as if it was legal. No, we've been sold down the river. The people of the United States are no longer in a free country. We just don't know it yet. Haven't quite figured that part out. But it'll come to us. It'll come to us in time. When, you know, one day someone tells you you may or you may not do this or do that, and all of a sudden you realize, wait a minute, you're a Chinese dude. Why are you telling me this? I'm the U.S. Army. Oh, what? And so things are going to change real fast. If you get tired of looking at the future, then you can always look at the past. So think about good things in the past that did go right. You know, think about that job you did where, you know, you knuckled down and you made her go, and at first it didn't look so good because you didn't know if you were going to be able to do it. But you just hang in there and keep on pushing, and something happens. You know, something will come to you. Usually you'll have an idea, and especially if your mind's already thinking about the project. See, so when we look forward, I don't want to look too far forward, but honestly, this is my opinion. Now, I don't want to burden you with my theology and whatnot too far, because that's not what this is about. Theology is good. We should all be our own, so to speak, theologians in a way, at least enough to understand, say the Apostles' Creed or something. But what I mean is, in terms of our theology as it kind of rolls around and comes around, there was a guy, and he passed away last year, I believe it was, and I've mentioned him before. His name was Thomas Horn, Horne. You can look him up on Skywatch TV. His big claim to fame was that he correctly predicted that Benedict, the ex-pope, was going to retire, was going to, just sign off and walk away, which was at that time unheard of. No pope had ever done that. And he was all out there alone. He was the only person predicting it. And he said it was going to happen in April of year X, whichever year it was. Nothing happened in April. Nothing happened in May. Nothing happened later on in the year. But in November, the Vatican, whatever they call it, the Curia or whatever they call it, announced that the Pope was retiring. And they said, well, when was this decision made? Last April. just like Horn called it. So anyway, that was what made him famous. But anyway, he had a vision, and it was, I guess, a pretty complicated thing. Anyway, the short version is, if you've heard of asteroid 99942, aka Apophis, he says that rock's coming down. Now NASA says no, it won't. It's going to miss, but by a very narrow margin. In fact, so narrow that it'll actually come under the altitude of some of our high-flying satellites up there at 30,000 miles. Because, see, most satellites are LEO, low orbit, probably under 150 miles high. And so that's nothing. So the deep satellites, I think those are geosynchronous, but I'm clearly making things up. Anyway, Horn says that hot rock is coming down. We're talking 67 million tons. That's 67 million tons. And so at any rate, that's in 2029. Guess which day? 13, Friday the 13th, April 2029. Lucky day, I guess. So whether it does or whether it doesn't, I don't know. But in other words, what I'm saying is, I believe that if that rock is coming down, that NASA already knows that it's coming down, and they know that they're lying about it. And the reason they're lying about it is, well, it would just panic people. We really don't have a way to deal with that problem, actually, to move that rock. So why put everyone in a tizzy, you see? Or the other answer might be, we prefer people dead, thanks. So the word by Horn and the discussion on the Skywatch has to do with the idea of linking this rock, this hot rock, with a prophecy in the Bible called, had to do with a thing called wormwood. Wormwood is this thing that comes screeching out of the sky. John, the disciple, the writer of the book, he says it looked like a burning mountain. Burning mountain. Interesting. Why would he call it that? And in fact, the word asteroid, which is the word we use, he is the original of that, and I can't remember what it was, Asterium or something like that. But anyway, the situation is, I'm looking ahead and thinking, well, it's 5 years from now. Well, a little bit more than that. So I'll be 70 by then. It's like, gosh, I hope I still ain't out there busting concrete and that at 70 years old. But I honestly think this is what's going to happen. The government has to clamp down on what they call extremists, MAGA extremists, like people like you or me, who believe that there is such a thing as God, that there is such a thing as truth, that there is such a thing as integrity and cowardice. And it's important to keep your word, you lying sack of But the situation is that for people like us now, I'm not sure I'm ready to pick up arms against the U.S. Army. I might have to, but doesn't sound like a very good idea to me. But the thing is that I'm not talking about an armed insurrection over here. I'm talking about peaceable, law-abiding citizens will be rounded up based upon what? This right here. This cyber text, this digital footprint, it's going to point me out. It's going to say X right here. Ixgen, he's an Xgen. Cross him out. Well, there's quite a few of us, as a matter of fact. So suddenly the government's going to have to make room for, 20 million people that they have to kind of corner and round up somewhere? Sounds to me like camps of some kind. Well, I'm just making that up. I don't have the inside dope. I don't have the plan. I haven't seen the schedule that the evil psychopaths are using, but I'm just saying, you can have a tough day and you can have a tough life and have a lot of things going on. You can always look back, think of the good times, think of the ones that worked, but think again. Keep a short leash. Keep a short account. If you got something against your brother or sister, go and settle it. You don't know how much time you got. If you got an issue where you need to straighten out something in your life and it's really messing not only you up but your wife or your cousins or somebody, get it straightened out as soon as you can. And if you can get out of debt, get out of debt. But what I'm saying is this: we're coming up with some big darn changes, and it may be that 5 years from now, I'm not going to be a free man. I may not even be alive. I don't know. But the point is whether I am alive or not alive. I mean, my life has been sold to the highest bidder, the living God. He has bought me body and soul. He owns me through and through. And so whether I live or whether I die, I live unto him and I die unto him. This is the language of the apostle. We need to learn those words and apply them in our lives. And let go of the strong pull in your life that's pulling you back and makes you think you have to do everything the government says. No, you don't. The government is not God. And the government has no right to tell you to disobey God or violate his standards. See, that's the whole thing. There's three realms. There's the civil, there's the familial, and then there's the ecclesiastical. And in our system of the USA, we understand that. But what's happening is, I believe that what's happening is they're collapsing it into a bipolar system. I was kind of experimenting around with words the other day. You know, there's the Hebrew faith, and we call many of those folks Jewish or Jews. And I thought, well, you know, the problem with this whole Bidenomics and just twisted left-wing Marxist crazy-ass stuff going on with this transhumanist junk, it's not Jewish, it's two-ish, two-ish. And the problem is, of course, now in Christianity, we can see there's a three, Father, Son, Holy Ghost. There's not three gods, there's one. But when you break it into a polar synthesis, A or B, it must be A, it must be B. Now you're in a Hegelian dialectic, and now you're going to get messed up. And so we don't want to go there. We don't want to go into a Hegelian dialectic. No, sir. So what it works out to is, in terms of this, you don't want to be two-ish, you want to be three-ish. So if the government comes along and says, you must do A, or you shall be penalized with B, choose one. Choose the penalty. But always remember, there's a third option. There's a third option. And that's to stand up in the middle of that and say, I declare my loyalty is not to this government or to any human government, but to the government of God, to the kingdom of heaven. And the true king, he comes. He knows his own, and he has made a place for us. He's joined us into his reign, into his realm, and he has established us and placed us in a safe, solid position before him as sons, as daughters, as his people. And so I just wanted to let you know, the way I'm looking at it today is that you can look forward, you can look back, but don't look too far forward, and don't make your plans 25 years ahead necessarily. At least I wouldn't. At least not with the way things are going now. But, you know, if you got to start a mortgage, I guess go ahead and start your mortgage. But anyway, the short version is, with the looking ahead, if Horn's right 5 years from now, that hot rock comes down, let me tell you, baby, that's the end of Western civilization for sure. That is going to be a serious whack in the noggin for this world. And 67 million tons coming in at something like 27,000 miles an hour. I mean, Earth relative. Come on. That's crazy, man. The explosion alone would be catastrophic. But the explosion is not the story. Every time you look into this Apophis stuff, what do? They compare the impact, the kinetic impact of a rock on Earth with hydrogen bomb weapons. Why do they do that? It's nothing like a hydrogen bomb. It's more like a bullet. And it hits so hard that the resulting destruction of that blast far exceeds the sum total of all the H-bombs in the world, as far as I understand it, in one blast. But see, that's not what this is about. No. That's just one of the items involved. It's the 67 megaton rock making an impact and piercing into and cracking the Earth's crust, sending a shock wave down in through the liquid center of Earth. Do you realize what that's going to do? Every volcano within 1,000 miles is going to fire up. Maybe within 3,000, I don't know. But you jar that big old bowl of hot jelly down there with a 67 million ton rock coming in that hot. Oh, baby, we're going to be talking about some tectonic moving, doing like the twist out here. And you know what? Who knows where it's going to come down? Horn seems to think it's going to come down. He said it, saw it in a vision, somewhere not too far from San Diego. But he says the rock's going to split, and a second part of it, a shard, will hit the ocean, causing a tsunami, a monster tsunami. So, I mean, I don't know whether this is real or whether it's not, but I'm thinking I'm going to count on Tom Horn. If it's a question between trusting Tom Horn, God bless him, who's went on to be with the Lord, or trusting, let's say, the poodle and his corrupted regime over there at Never uh, a Straight Answer. That's what NASA means, never a straight answer. Uh, that's not even a choice. You don't even have to flip a coin on that one. Hell yeah, we know these people are serial liars. They lie about lying. They're just awful. So 5 years, that sounds like a long time, but do the math. It's only about 1,800 days or something like that. I mean, I just did that in my head real quick, but you can get the real number if you care. But use that number as a guide, 13 April 2029, and it's kind of like, well, look, everything's either going to shift right now and just go wacko into in another world we've never experienced, or things are going to keep spiraling down with this one world whiffy whiff government sponsored by who? The Chinese, I guess. I don't even know who's done this thing. But with the U.S. buddying up to the Chinese, bringing in their soldiers, baptizing them immediately as U.S. soldiers, this is a real bad idea. Our government has collapsed. It just doesn't look like it yet. The frauds, the phonies, the fakes, the liars, the perverts who are in charge are just getting rich doing it. Richer than you can imagine. It's one of the greatest thefts of all time in terms of just gross quantity of the thievery. So don't you lose hope, because these guys, they're never going to get away with this. God is a God of justice, and he shall repay according to what we've done and said. And his standard is truth. His standard is the right way, righteousness. He is the God of truth, righteousness, and justice, and he is perfect in all of them. So, plus he's holy on top of that. The holy God comes, and so judgment comes, and this should help you out. This should cheer you up, because it helps me think, well, you know what? This crap ain't going to go on forever. And you know what? My arm hurts, my back hurts, everything hurts. I can't do this forever. I'm wearing out. I'm falling to pieces. But that's what happens to old people. So keep on keeping on. Do what you can do. And remember, we're in for the long haul. We're either going to see Jesus come with these eyes of flesh, and that's what I'm looking for, or he's going to take us home, and we'll wake up in his arms. So don't you fret none, because things are just so damn ugly, and we need something beautiful to think about. So think about the beauty of the Lord, and for his kindness and his everlasting love that just goes on and on and on. He's the best, and we need to reside in a strong sense of his presence, because that's the only thing that's going to hold us up. Because it isn't going to be your Americanism. It isn't going to be your I'm a guy and I'm masculine and I'm strong, or whatever it is that you think you're going to it's going to carry you through. The Master carries us through, or he don't. And if he sets us down and says, go to sleep right here and I'll wake you up later, you betcha I will. So don't be afraid to die, and don't be afraid to live, and you just say so too. Someone wants to threaten you with your life, just say, hey, tell you what, I'm a Christian. I'm not afraid to die, are you? Give something to think about. So live as if today was your last day, and live as if you had another 100 years to go. You've got to kind of balance the two in all at once to sort of make it such that the important stuff gets done on time, and the details that can wait, they wait. But you try to take care of everything eventually. But there's no reason to panic, and there's no reason to just go scurrying around. These twisted sickos are going to do what they can do, and they're as ugly as you can get, and they're just getting uglier all the time. I tell you, it's demonic. It's a demonic overthrow, and those are our true enemies. So the prayer in David's time, Lord Yahweh, teach my hands to war. Do not I hate your enemies perfectly? We need to learn the Psalms, and we need to say them back to him in prayer, because that's the sound of sanity. That's the sound of a man or a woman whose eyes are awake and their hearts are alive. So you be that way and thrive, because that's what he intended for you when he came on down here. It wasn't that you were just going to weasel and measle along, but that you would thrive as a human, as a man or a woman, and know that your strength is being renewed from the true source, the King who holds all power in his hand. That's what I wanted to say, because it's a Monday. Have a good day. Don't let them get you down.